Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending our next moderated session this morning. Our session this morning is on vehicle technology solutions. I'd first like to introduce our panelists. I've got Robert Martineau with AirFlow Deflector, Sean Tyndall with Fleetmatics, Chuck Farmer with the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, and we have John Fontana, who's the Videomatics Program Manager for Roscoe Vision Systems. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to talk a little bit about your companies. Robert, you want to start?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's Robert Martineau. I'm President and CEO of AirFlow Deflector. AirFlow Deflector is a side underride protection device manufacturer and provider. We produce side guards, which is a technology that fits on the side of large trucks, 10,000 pounds or more. And the idea of a side guard is it prevents pedestrian cyclists, motorcyclists, and vehicles, should there be a side collision, from entering what's called the underride, or the space between the front and rear wheels. And the benefit is to reduce or eliminate deaths of what's referred to as vulnerable road users.
Perfect, thank you. Sean.
So good morning. My name is Sean Tyndall. I'm with Fleetmatics. We're part of Verizon Telematics. We are the largest GPS tracking provider in the country and in the world. Mainly what we do is we've taken on an initiative to partner with insurance companies to really provide the data that they need from you guys as you operate your business day to day. So.
Perfect. Chuck?
I'm Chuck Farmer with the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. We're a research and educational organization dedicated to looking for ways to reduce the number of crashes on the roads or severity of the crashes. We're supported by pretty much all the major auto insurers, and we just try to find ways to cut down on things going on the roads.
And John?
Morning, everyone. Roscoe Vision Systems, a manufacturer of vision safety solutions for the last 110 years. And we've really been evolving into a technology-based company providing camera systems and safety systems for fleets out on the road to reduce accidents, reduce claims using camera technology.
Perfect. So the first set of questions I have is general questions, and then I have some questions individually for you folks. General question. Discuss why vehicle technology is important. Robert, you want to start with that?
Vehicle technology, I think, is important because I think it's part and parcel of the total landscape of providing, I guess, the best things possible to protect both the driver, companies, a risk management perspective of it, vulnerable road users. So I think technology as a whole, whether it's cameras, sensors, side guards, I think it's all part and parcel of the landscape, which certainly left kind of unchecked, certainly can cause catastrophic life-changing events for everybody. So I think it's, generally speaking, it's a good step forward.
Perfect. Sean?
You know, what we see day to day with technology is, as a business owner, your two most valuable assets are your employees and typically your vehicles and equipment. The more knowledge you have as to what's going on with both of them day to day while they're out on the highways and the roads, the better you can protect them and protect your assets. So technology is a huge piece of protecting those things moving forward.
Chuck?
More than 90% of crashes are caused by something the driver did, some error in judgment or in just maneuvering. And training helps some, educational helps a little bit, but what really seems to work is technology, things that prevent somebody from driving drunk, or prevent them from going too fast, or prevent them from driving without a seatbelt. So technology is important to me in that sense. You can make a big dent in the number of crashes just through vehicle technology.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at technology as a way to tell the story. I mean, there's so many variables out there on the road, and when your drivers go out there, you're really going on faith, and you really don't know what's happening. And utilizing technology systems, whether it's GPS tracking or camera systems or anything else, you're looking to finish that story and really understand what happened. With the goal being, if you can understand what happened, you can prevent it from happening again. So, I mean, I think it's a must in today's world, in today's industry.
Absolutely. Next question I have is, why should companies take advantage of adopting technology in their vehicles? Robert.
Why should companies adopt technology? I think was very well said, is that inventory of a company is their people, is their fixed assets, it's their clients. So I think technology from the safety perspective of it, protects all of that. We work hard to develop relationships, establish clients, retention, and I think technology from that perspective of it in the broad scheme of things really protects the reasons why we're here, and from a corporate perspective, it's the right thing to do.
And Sean, you touched on this with the last question. Anything else you want to add on this particular topic?
No, when it comes to technology and the investment, it really does come down to protecting yourself and liability and the people that you've entrusted to help you operate day to day. It's essential.
Chuck?
It's just good for business. It's going to reduce the number of crashes you have to deal with. It's going to improve your public image. It's probably going to reduce your insurance rates. All of that's going to help your profit. So I see no reason not to do it.
I mean, I agree. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? As a business owner, you manage every aspect of your business. And when it comes to something that you have no control over or no insight to, why wouldn't you take the next step so you can control that piece as well? I mean, it just makes sense.
Perfect. We've talked a lot about safety culture. I know there were a lot of breakout sessions yesterday that discussed safety culture. Do you think advances in vehicle technology has improved the safety culture around driving, and how? We also talk about how there can be some initial pushback from drivers with vehicle technology, but overall we feel it builds a good safety culture. You guys want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I think from the point of view of the adoption, for sure when new technology, anything comes out, everybody grasps it, and we kind of develop our own way of doing things, and texting, I guess, is one of them. I think the awareness, technology starts, the gadget starts, then the adaptation starts, then we realize what's good and what's bad. So I think pushback is normal, but I think once we go through this learning curve or the ebbs, I think people will realize that technology is good, innovation is good. We need to control ourselves like anything, and then we'll develop a platform, and then it'll just become second nature, and we won't really give too much thoughts. Technology will work seamlessly in terms of our daily lives.
Sure.
One of the things that in our industry, in the GPS tracking industry, we get when we call and talk to business owners on a day-to-day basis is, I trust my guys. And we know you trust your guys. You hired good people. There's a fear amongst a lot of companies that we don't want to give our employees a reason to distrust us. What we have to move past is it's not about being Big Brother. It really isn't about, when you look at technology as a whole, it's not about looking for the bad things your employees are doing. It's really about, how can I, again, protect the assets I have? How can I make you safer and more efficient, and at the same time, make our company more profitable? And as a business owner, if you can convey that to your employees, I know with Fleetmatics, I probably talked to 10 to 12 customers we actually have here that have used our system for a long, long time. And if you talk to any one of them, they'll usually tell you that it's the greatest thing they ever did, because they know every day they're protected across the board, and they're doing the right thing by their employees by doing it. So,
Chuck.
Drivers will be resistant to new technology. Everybody's resistant to change. I'm very resistant to change, but you get used to it. When I was a kid, nobody used seatbelts. You don't even think of that as technology anymore, but it was technology back then. And now, I think the latest stats are 90% of people are using seatbelts. We got used to it. It wasn't so weird anymore.
I think it's really, it boils down to you're resistant to the technology until you need it when it's too late, and then you wish you had it. I think it's one of those things where you kick yourself for not taking advantage of it sooner. And there is pushback from drivers, but there's ways to get them to jump on your side and jump on board. You know, like Sean said, once they adopt it, it's the greatest thing they've ever done, and then they become an advocate for it and to everyone else. And same thing here. I think everyone in this room that owns a fleet has a Rosco camera in it, and I'm sure in some way that's helped you mitigate risk for an accident or claim, or protect a driver that maybe wasn't at fault for something. So there is pushback, but again, once they implement it, I think that it fizzles really quickly.
Perfect, and that's going to flow right into our next question. With the, we talked about it on Monday during the opening session, was the litigious environment we're in these days. How can your technology prevent some of these lawsuits that are occurring, or at least reduce the value of some of these lawsuits?
I think Sideguards is an interesting technology because one person asked me when we first got into installing these for the city of New York was, Rob, how do you know these things work? And I use the analogy of a room, very noisy, lots of problems going on, and then Sideguards just reduce the volume, because if a Sideguard is on a vehicle and you get into an accident, you collide alongside of these things, you're just going to either bounce off and become a very minor accident, so there will be no news sensationalism, so it'll just get very quiet. So the stats aren't there yet in North America. Europe, it's been around since 1989, so Europe, they don't think about it. So from the litigation perspective of it, anybody that's been involved with a lawsuit, it's a life-changing event. It takes a long time, lots of proofs and stats. So Sideguards, from the perspective of litigation, will have a serious reduction in the death and injury of people. And if you speak to most litigation offense lawyers, they would like nothing better than the Sideguards to be legislated, because the cases that they're involved with really have a very dramatic effect. So Sideguards, I think, will have a serious impact on preventing large suits, saving lives, accidents, and keeping people safe.
Sean?
So our solution when it comes to GPS vehicle tracking in our safety program is used in litigation every day. We help our clients because we can track for every speeding event that goes on. We're Google's largest mapping partner, so we have the posted speed limit on every road in the country. We also can monitor for distracted driving, and that's huge. It's the buzzwords right now in the insurance industry and amongst everybody. Typical indicators are hard brake, hard stop, quick start, hard cornering. We can show exactly what happened at the time of an incident leading up. We can replay. We'll know if the driver was speeding. Was he changing lanes or swerving? Did he slam on his brakes? What was leading up to that? And when you go into litigation, if you're sued, it's vital. A couple attorneys were here, and one of them was just telling us a story about how we helped one of our clients. He helped them, dismiss a lawsuit because he was able to prove the driver wasn't at fault. So it's very, very valuable.
But one of the keys, obviously, is monitoring that data,
right.
Monitoring the system.
Right, and our system is set up in a proactive way. So you tell us what you want to see, and daily, weekly, monthly, you'll get a report that'll outline every speeding event, every distracted driving event. You can actually rank your drivers on how well they perform. And so you as a business owner, you have a lot on your plate. What we can do is we can give you the data and show it to you in a way that's easy for you to digest and utilize later.
Now, Chuck, you don't particularly have a product, but you have more of an overview of a lot of different products.
Yeah, I don't have any product to push. I'm a researcher, but I look at what these guys make and see if they perform as advertised, and then put out that information. And if you've got something that works, if you're not making mistakes or hurting people, then you should avoid lawsuits, I would think. Not a lawyer either, but That's my point of view.
John?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to camera technology, you're really getting down to actuality of what happened. So there's so much data that's recorded, not only on cameras, but on GPS systems and things like that, and I think they really work synergistically. You have a GPS tracking device that's going to tell you whereabouts, things like that, and then you add that video piece and it tells you the actual things of what happened. So when you look at things like a hard brake or a swerve or things like that, to me, if I was a business owner, I'd want to know why. Why is my driver doing that? Was he distracted or was he avoiding an accident? And then I can coach him from there. If he's avoiding something that could be potentially, detrimental, then great job. If he's doing it because he was distracted, then I have a bigger issue on my hands. And I can use that camera technology to really figure it out and understand. Again, it's really, the cameras are all about understanding what's going on inside and outside of the vehicle. You just have to.
Perfect. So next question I have is for John. We partnered with you guys a number of years ago. You want to talk about that program that we put together and the amount of cameras sold and so forth?
Sure. So Energize came to us looking for a camera provider, and we came out with a product called Sylvie, which probably a lot of you have or have seen today at the show. And it's a forward-facing camera that is going to provide you insight in the event of an accident. You're able to get pretty much scene-by-scene recognition of what happened, and you can really decipher the accident and reconstruct and see what was the cause of it, if you're at fault, if you're not at fault, and take it from there. In terms of cameras sold, it's over 5,000, I would have to say.
Between our older camera units that we've sold and the Roscoe cameras, we're up to about 17,000 cameras that we've actually sold to our insureds. Our insureds have then some of our insureds have gone out and purchased other cameras, different makes and models as well, but we're up pretty significantly with that 17,000 number. In the last few years, have you seen more companies continuously adopting and investing in dash cameras?
Absolutely. Again, you have the early adopters that it really takes nothing for them to get the technology, and then you have the guys that kind of hang on the fence forever and ever and ever until, again, it's very reactive. So until something happens or an event happens and they wish they had it. But yeah, slowly they do. I think the key is you got to just be persistent, because the industry changes, the people change. Drivers, it's no longer a driver just driving. It's so many other things. They have emails coming in, text messages, phone calls, the radio's going off, and eventually there's going to be an accident, and you're going to wish you had that camera. And that's what we see. We see people that are on the fence finally come to their senses because some event drove them to come back and say, hey, I need to take a look at this.
And as you mentioned before, the first camera that we worked on together was the Sylvie camera.
Right.
We also, for some of our larger vehicles, transport vehicles that are going into major metropolitan cities, we've got the dual vision camera. You want to talk about that camera?
Yeah, so dual vision's a step up from the Sylvie. It's going to capture video inside and outside of the vehicle simultaneously, but it also offers a ton of other features. So it's still a continuous recorder, and it's still archiving hours and hours of data, anywhere from 250 hours to 3,000, because it now has expandable memory. But it also gives you the ability to connect to a cloud service, which we call Roscoe Live, or integrate into a partner. We work with a number of telematics partners. Fleetmatics is hopefully going to be one of them shortly. And what that allows you to do is manage on the go. You no longer have to wait for the vehicle to come back and pull out an SD card, plug it in, and then go ahead and watch video or filter out what you want to see. It's done on the fly, instantaneously, in real time. You could be at lunch, you could be at a business meeting, you can get an email with a video clip attached to it that says, hey, watch this video. And it's all based on parameters that you've set. So you're not getting bombarded with video after video after video of nothing. It's things that you were concerned about that have been violated, and you're getting that video.
And that particular camera model has the side view camera capabilities, right?
Yeah, so it does have side view cameras. Large vehicles prevent, I guess, a bigger risk during right turns, especially in urban environments and crowded city populations. So we have the ability to attach an HD side camera and capture that vehicle turning. And from there we can pick up things like accidents or side swipes or hitting things.
Perfect. Thanks, John. Sean,
Yep.
who do you find most likely to want to get on board with the telematics program? What's your typical client profile?
You know, anyone who has a fleet of vehicles of, say, 5 or more, upwards to, you know, into the thousands, we're finding they're right now the most likely to adopt. It not only can help you from a safety and asset standpoint, but there's other things a GPS tracking solution can do. Just make you more efficient. We can help you with your payroll. We can help with tracking your maintenance on your vehicles. We can help in a number of different ways. And whether it's through us or through some of our competitors, there's some great products out there. The return on the investment is really the hardest thing to convey. Once you get to the size where you've got a fleet of 5 or more, it makes it real easy to show that by just improving efficiencies a little bit, you can typically see a 4, 5, 6 to 1 return. And that's really the type of people we're talking to a lot right now.
How is telematics impacting risk management and insurance? Obviously, we've all seen how it can impact. Do you have some success stories, some statistics you can share with us?
Statistics are, leave that up to this guy here. He's the one who gets to compile that. We have a ton of success stories because having an integrated safety program, which is really what a telematics company should be providing, where not only can you rate and rank each driver, regardless of the vehicle they're in, but you can give them a safety score. You know, look at their speeding events, look at their distracted driving events, and show them and show your entire roster of drivers and rank them top to bottom. Use positive reinforcement. You'll see that your overall score will go up. As our insurance partners and our customers that work closely with their own insurance partners, give that safety program about 60 to 90 days and then take that driver scorecard and show it to them. And they're always blown away by not only the short-term improvement, because it makes it very easy to coach, very easy to teach, but it gives the insurance provider the data they're looking for. Instead of hoping your guys are driving well, they can actually see now that they are. And we have heard story after story that rates are getting reduced and because everyone's liability is going down. So it's really becoming a big factor in why companies should be looking at a telematics provider.
Have you guys been approached by insurance companies as far as the usage-based insurance type model?
Not yet. That's a newer term in our world and in our lingo. We're familiar with it, but we haven't really had a lot of companies come to us saying, we're looking at going to this model, can you help me? We can obviously provide you the data, all the data you'd want to see that the insurance company would therefore want. But it's not something that's really becoming prevalent yet, I would say.
In commercial auto, it's more...
It's more of a consumer product.
Correct.
But, you know, we have the tools necessary to help a business owner if they decide they want to go that way.
Perfect, thank you. All right, Chuck, in general, what types of trends are you seeing in the commercial auto markets?
Well, same with all autos, even personal lines. Crashes are up over the past few years. 2013, I think there were 5.7 million crashes in the US. This year, the numbers aren't out yet, but we're expecting about 6.6. So that's like a 10-15% increase over 3 years. And it's unusual because before that, we saw crashes going down, especially the serious crashes, going down every year. It's worrisome for the insurers. I don't work for the insurers, but they're always coming to me asking questions, and they're worried about that. It affects their bottom line. They don't want to raise premiums. The only other way to keep profits up is to look for the customers who are lower risk.
Perfect. Can you discuss some of the key highway safety trends, some of the new studies you're working on?
Well, the big thing is crash avoidance systems that are coming out now. One that's becoming more and more prevalent is called automatic emergency braking. The car either slows down a lot or stops itself before it hits that guy in front of you. Even has nothing to do with the driver. Driver doesn't have to respond to some alert. It's the car does it all. And looking at both insurance data and police reported data, we see about a 50% decline in your typical rear end crash when you've got that system on your vehicle. It's huge. There are probably, well, there are about 2 million rear end crashes each year. So you can knock out 1 million crashes if every vehicle on the road had such a system. And that's got the insurers very excited. It's got a lot of people excited. My car does not have it yet, but some of the newer cars, even lower-end newer cars, are starting to put it out now.
And that was my next point I was going to bring up. You're seeing that quite a bit now on consumer motor vehicles, smaller vehicles. Mm-hmm. What about as far as commercial vehicles down the road? What are you thinking that's going to head towards?
I would like to push it for commercial vehicles down the road. The auto companies have pretty much all agreed to make it standard equipment by 2022, but the trucking companies I haven't heard from yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming or hoping that when they see it on their own vehicle, they're going to want to put it on the trucks as well. It just makes sense.
You've recently worked with AirFlow. What was the recent study that you conducted with Angel Wing?
Yeah, as far as trucks, the thing that we are most concerned with is crashes of cars into trucks. There are about 1,500 deaths per year involving crashes of cars into trucks, and about half of those, the car underrides the truck, which can be a pretty severe crash. We started doing crash tests just to document how severe that is, and you shear off pretty much the whole top of the car. And there are rear underrides right now. When we started doing our crash test, found out that they were not really as strong as they could be or should be. In Canada, actually, they have stronger regulations for rear underrides than we do. And we started promoting the stronger rear underride guards, and convinced pretty much all the major trailer manufacturers to go with this stronger design. So we moved on to side underride, because there are rear underrides, there are side underrides, there are front underrides to trucks. Side underrides are also a problem. They're as big a problem as rear underrides. And they're not really, well, there's no regulation for a side underride guard. Some trucks have them to prevent pedestrians and bicyclists from running under the truck in a crash. Most of them, though, do not prevent a vehicle from going underneath. And we convinced Robert over here to come up with one that could prevent a vehicle from going underneath. And so last year we tested it at 35 miles an hour. And it does stop the vehicle. The people in that vehicle could walk away. Our dummies don't have significant injury measures on them. This year we did it at 40 miles an hour, did just as well. So we're very high on side underride guards.
Robert, you want to talk about your product? And I think one of the questions I've gotten recently, especially the past couple days, is installation, how long it takes, if it's going on a tank truck, is it going to compromise the tank? You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So just coming back to what Chuck said, the tracking of side underride crashes is kind of this void space. And so what we're seeing is the dialogue is starting to commence with stakeholders, insurance companies, researchers, advocates, the common lay people, and I think the notion is moving forward. We're talking about it, which I think is a good thing, regardless of the topic. Biggest question that I got on this convention here was from the fleet owners. Okay, I get it. I believe in it, but how am I going to integrate it into my current system, my fleet, my people? Like, what's it going to cost, and what do I really need to do? And I think that's a fair question. We can appreciate in the trucking landscape there's a myriad of different types of trucks, and you could order 50 trucks from the dealer, and they're all slightly different in such a way because the trucks that the majority of you guys use are built in collaboration with many actors. The chassis, the body, the toolboxes, and so on and so forth. So lots of interaction with different people. And if I'm a toolbox guy, I'll just put the toolbox about where I want to. Side guards is a little bit different, and most people will agree that side guards is the last thing that you'll install on a truck because it covers the side of the truck from the rear wheels to the front wheels. So that's a lot of real estate on a truck that typically is void. Yes, we see toolboxes and fuel tanks and so on and so forth. So our side guards integrate with those. So we have a kit retrofit solution that allows the integration of the side guards with the components because we're part and parcel of the truck deliverable. So installation. Typical installation on a city truck, that's a garbage truck, a delivery truck, is about 4 hours, 1 to 2 guys. Simple mechanical skills. If you can do an oil change, you can install a side guard. That's proven. Bigger challenge is the big trucks. So we see these oil delivery tubular trucks, and the challenge, the opportunity of installing a side guard is not the side guard itself, but it's the attachment points. Because you can make a guard as strong as possible, but where you install it on the truck is part and parcel of the total deliverable, because if your installation to the chassis or to the body is weak, and you're expected to absorb 68,000 pounds, which is approximate force energy that needs to be absorbed on a 40-mile-an-hour Malibu type crash as we saw it at the IHS, the guard could be as strong as possible, but if the attachment point buckles, we have a problem. So it might even cause more damage or injury or consequence because of the crash, especially when you have a liquid truck. If you're carrying eggs, okay, it's going to make a mess, but if you carry oil or a flammable and the guard ruptures the tank, then we have even a bigger problem because perhaps the accident in itself wouldn't have caused the rupture. So it's called the attachment point. So for the fuel trucks, so far we've been able to accommodate the vast majority of it, and one gentleman we were speaking to, he was saying with these long tubular trucks that the tube itself or the tank itself is part and parcel of the chassis or the frame. What would probably happen if the industry adopts it or the insurance makes compliancy is that the OEM would have to adapt an attachment point for an aftermarket type manufacturer like AirFlow, or if they decide to install it themselves, they will just configure within the unit itself the attachment points where there's the frame or the body in which our guards can accommodate both. Big rigs are a little bit different than the city trucks, but conceptually speaking, the mounting infrastructure is the same. So typically speaking, on a big rig, it's 2 hours. On a city truck, it's 4 hours because there's a little bit more attachments, bracket determinations, and so on and so forth. But it's a very simple process, 2 to 4 hours, and no specialized tools that a normal garage wouldn't have on a day-to-day basis.
So basically on the installation on tanks, trucks, and so forth, obviously it's got to be per your direction, per your instruction, so you're not compromising, not compromising that tank.
Correct.
Discuss some of the other benefits of side guards. I know one of them is fuel efficiency.
Sure. So if we think about fuel efficiency for city trucks, not to say that fuel is not a major element, a cost structure, but if you're a sanitation department, you're zipping back and forth. Gas is just one of those things that you'll be worried about. So maintenance and that type of technology and process will, keep the truck in good shape. It'll do what it's supposed to do. On the bigger trucks, we see, and we're not, most people when they speak to me, they said, oh, Rob, your things are great, those little skirts on the side, that's a fantastic idea, but we found through the IHS and everybody's studies that those things don't prevent underride, they prevent or they give a fuel efficiency. So if you speak to the industry of that, there's a lot of trucks that these things cannot be installed on because there's no attachment point. So again, this attachment point. So an angel wing is a structure that fits underneath the trailer, and that in itself does not provide any fuel economy because it's a cage. And so what you're able to do is using these traditional aftermarket skirts, composite side skirts, they can be attached to the angel wing, and that gives it a very rigid structure. And fuel efficiency aerodynamics is the stiffer the unit, the better flow or slipstream that is created. So it actually can improve the fuel efficiency. So side guards on the big rigs will not deter from fuel efficiency, and in fact, studies, I think, and our data will probably prove it, that it might even help improve fuel efficiencies because they dynamically work together.
You talked about the adoption over in Europe. That happened a number of years ago. It was actually it was a requirement. You want to talk about how that's kind of translating over into the United States?
So that's a really good question. So I travel a lot, as probably most of my colleagues here do, and when you go to Europe, side guards is a no-brainer. They're there, it's law, and they don't even really think about it. And maintenance of side guards is another story, but I think that's for another conference. A couple of the fleet companies that I've spoken to have bought European trucks, and they come with these things. They say, what are these? Oh, these are side guards. How do they work? And so on and so forth. So the landscape in Europe is very different than here in North America. Trucks are different. Roads are different. Everything is different. And better for worse, that's another topic. So the adoption of side guards, I think, will follow that trend. 1989 was the year that it was passed. It's a EU type of affair, but China has them, Brazil have them, so they're adopting what's called a European standard of 220 pounds. It's a cyclist pedestrian type of guard. It's a light guard, there's no question. And in North America, the trend through a department called Volpe, which is a subset of New York DOT, they're trying to convince or recommend standards to government, to cities, to fleet owners, to individual people to adopt a higher standard of 440 pounds. So what we see as far as taking a trend of what happened in Europe is that the dialogue has started, stakeholders are getting involved, insurance companies are perhaps considering it as a risk reduction, premium reduction, hopefully, and so hopefully the long term will be a null effect of an initial investment to overall premium, risk litigation costs, and so on and so forth. So the adoption, I think, will follow what happens in Europe. It's a slow, one truck at a time approach, and I think we'll pass a point where it'll become mandatory. People won't think about it. OEMs, the original manufacturers, will install them, hopefully ours, and then it'll just go from there. But we're seeing a significant increase in dialogue over the last year or so, and a lot of positive comments. And I think most people are looking for a way to have a balance between technology, costs, relationships between the trucks and the drivers and the unions and all these people that play into that one. So I can do my job and not be affected by this is getting in my way, maintenance. Our guards are removable. So again, if we can find the balance, I think with anything, all the technology we're talking about, a balance between cost, value, adaptation, warranty, maintenance, if we can make it seamless, then I think it's a dialogue that will just become part of mainstream talk.
Can you talk about a typical rollout of this program within a fleet?
Sure, that's a good question. So typically how we do it is we have an end-to-end deployment process. So a company calls us, we're doing a very large implementation for a cement company. They sell powdered cement. So they have flatbeds, they have these pneumatic trailers with these funnels. And so we're doing a project now. And so one is out of the box. You buy the kit, install it, it's simple. We're going to be helping them do some formation in Florida. And then after that, they're going to do it on their own. So they engaged us to spec their trucks, come up with a recommendation, do a planned rollout, train their facilities, and then they'll just order them as they need them. The pneumatic trailers is what we're referring to. Their flatbeds is a little bit different because the flatbeds have an attachment point problem because they've got this frame that goes in the center. Then the cross members of the angel wing doesn't really fit, so we have to come up with a different version. So we spec their trucks. We just modified our solution to accommodate this trailer. We're going to roll it out in 2 weeks and do their install and follow that methodology. So in summary, we spec your fleet, we take a look, you send us some information, we'll plan the rollout, train your guys, price them, and then you'll order them, the fleets will order them as they wish. New truck deliveries at the dealer, trucks that have been delivered at their facility, a number of different players, distributors that might install them, so when they're on the road they can say, give me one of those things, because it's only 2 to 4 hours, so it's not a 2 or 3 day kit off the shelf. So the deployment is really investigation, recommendation, formation, deployment.
John, I'm going to throw the same question at you as far as deployment. With the forward-facing cameras, my experience has been it's not that difficult of a sell for drivers. The cameras that face outward and then back in on the driver, that one's a little more difficult. You want to talk about how you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah. So neither system's really that difficult. So the Energide camera, Sylvia, is 3 wires, power, ground, ignition. The dual vision cameras, same 3 wires, power, ground, ignition. There's the addition of a power control box that has to get routed somewhere out of sight so it doesn't have access to the driver. What Roscoe really excels at is, I like to call us application specialists. And what does that mean? That means we have representation across the country and Canada where if a fleet is looking to implement our systems, we'll actually be on site with the fleet, working with their install team or their mechanic and showing them how they should be installed properly, where we think the side camera should be mounted to give you the greatest visibility on the side, things like that. Aside from like YouTube videos and manuals and things like that, we provide that personalized touch so that the fleet can feel confident that the system's been installed properly and it's been looked at by the people that make it. I think that goes a long way. So again, I mean, it's simple. It's not complicated. It's simple, but you know, it helps to have us there on site, and we're happy to be there on site to do that. Again, we see fleets every single day, not just through Energide. You know, we do see a lot from Energide, but we see a lot in general. And there are things that we see on the applications that you know, a mechanic installing this camera might be very capable of installing, but he might not know the things that we have seen where we think, hey, this side camera should go here, it should be angled this way, and here's why.
What about getting the drivers to buy into the cameras?
Again, that's, you know, about being on site and offering that personalized touch. We'll provide training, we'll provide video. I mean, we have so many videos in our archives that we can show that you know, it tells a story, and you can show this to the driver and say, hey, if that was you, what do you think would happen if you didn't have a camera? Mm-hmm. You know, things like accidents and things like that, where you know, driver's fully in the right to drive through an intersection, light's green, and someone blows that red light and T-bones him, and the guy crashes into a building, and this is stuff that's happened that we've caught. Without a camera, who knows, right? It's just he said, she said, word against word, and so we do help peel the drivers off the ceiling a little bit when it comes to implementing this technology. We try to get them to buy into it, and I think for the fleet, I always tell them if you want to try it out, but try it on your best driver, mm-hmm. because if you can catch something or change something on your best driver, then you know that it's probably something you need for the entire fleet.
Perfect. Thanks. I want to open it up to questions. Anybody have any questions on any of the topics we discussed? So yeah, I think there's almost 2 parts to that question. The question is, there's so much essentially technology out there nowadays. How do you integrate these products together? Which I think we'll answer that first. I mean, the integration of these products, there's a lot of new technology out there that's all-encompassing. So I know there's camera systems out there that now have GPS functionality, telematics functionality, and as far as like electronic logging, with the effect of that in a couple months, you're getting that all wrapped in too as well. So there are products out there that can solve that solution. So instead of 3, 4, 5 different systems within a vehicle, you can essentially now have one system. As far as who should maintain it within an organization, usually that's going to fall under a compliance person. But now you're almost morphing that role with a IT person as well. Because some of this technology is very, very complicated, does need maintenance. So a normal compliance safety specialist may not be able to handle all that additional workload as far as the computer systems. You guys have any thoughts about that?
Well, one of the things in our world, and one of the things I'm proudest about our system and what I hear from our customers is ease of use. Because what you're talking about is, we've got all these things we've got to look at. How can one person possibly keep up with that? And when one of the parts of our system that really makes it easy to use is that a lot of different people in your company can touch the product. Whether they're in payroll, they want to use it to verify hours. Whether they're in maintenance, they want to keep logs on the vehicles. Maybe you have somebody in operations who needs to monitor, you know, where the guys are and what's happening. You've got dispatch, you've got whoever does your IFTA, you know, things like that. It can all be automated. But our solution, one of the things we're proud of is that all of that can be, you can basically set it to run for you and notify you when something goes on. When we look at things like integration, you can find all-in-one solutions that are out there. But if you look across the industry, and you know, I'm sure John can speak to this a little bit as well, just because they can do a little bit of everything doesn't mean they do any of them well. You really want to get the best product for your needs. If you need a GPS tracking solution, find the best one that's going to fit your needs. If you need a camera solution, we can work side by side. We can, it doesn't take multiple people to analyze the data. You're going to use a camera solution, you're going to need to see that when there's an incident. A tracking solution can help you run your everyday business and make you more efficient. And when you talk about the ELD mandate, that's obviously something we can do, and these things. So really, when you're out there looking, try to find what's easiest to use and is going to fit your needs the most. And if you wind up having to have a couple different vendors, it'll make your life a lot easier than trying to get one product that might work things, do each piece, you know, okay. So John.
John, anything you want to add real quick? We're almost out of time here.
Yeah, so I think like the cliche, you know, jack of all trades, master of none really fits here. There are a lot of companies that try to do everything, but again, just like Sean said, they don't always do everything well. So, I mean, technology is important, but there's also a step above that, integrated technology. And our camera system integrates with multiple partners to really help automate and make managing the fleet and the technology easy. Yeah, it does get overwhelming sometimes to have multiple platforms to jump around, but if that's the best approach for your fleet, then that's the approach you have to take. If it's something we can integrate with that offers you a singular platform use, and we're able to do that, then that's the approach you take if that's what you need. So it's really about tailoring the solution to what you need and finding what works for you. But you know, at Roscoe, we help you do that. We have a number of partners we work with, you know, and some that are here and some that aren't here. And if it's something that we can integrate for you to make your life easier, that's our goal.
Perfect. All right, unfortunately, we're out of time. If there's any additional questions, feel free to grab any one of us after this presentation. I'd like to give our panelists a round of applause. All right, thanks, everybody.